Good morning, everyone. I am Kiara Tikungan, your reporter for today. For today, we will be discussing about one of the Spiralian phylum that is a member of the clade Lophotrochozoa, which is the phylum Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes originated from Greek words platy, which means flat, and helminth, which means worm. And that's one of the reason why it is also otherwise known as the flatworms. Phylum Platyhelminthes is a successful phylum with around 34,000 known species. Few species are commensalists, living in harmony or mutual benefit with one another, which are normally larger organisms. In simple terms, few species or some of them exhibit commensalism, which is a relationship between two species where one benefits and the other is neither helped nor harmed. So they coexist with one gaining an advantage, often without affecting the other negatively. So most species feed on animal material, either as parasites or as scavengers, and very few species feed on algae. So most of them are either parasites, living in on or with another organism in order to obtain nutrients, grow or multiply, often in a state that directly or indirectly harms the host, or as scavengers that primarily feed on dead or decaying organic matter. So members of this phylum range in adult size from 1 millimeter or less to 25 meters in length. They are dorso-ventrally flattened, meaning they are flat from top to bottom. So they also exhibit bilateral symmetry, in which if you are going to divide them, they are symmetrical on both sides. So they are also triploblastic, meaning they possess 3 germ layers during their embryonic stage, namely the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. They also lack specialized respiratory, skeletal, and circulatory systems. There is also no coelom, which is the fluid-filled body cavity that develops within the mesoderm during embryonic development. Moving on, phylum Platyhelminthes is traditionally divided into 4 classes, with Turbellaria being one of the classes. However, the classification of flatworms has been revised, and the use of Turbellaria as a valid class name has been largely abandoned in modern taxonomy. So Turbellaria is a polyphyletic group, meaning they don't share a common evolutionary ancestor. And because in modern taxonomy, scientists aim for monophyletic groups, where a taxon includes a common ancestor and all of its descendants, providing a more accurate representation of the evolutionary relationships among organisms. And because of this, it was replaced by more specific and diverse groups like Rhabditophora and Polycladida. So the Turbellarians are planarians under the polyphyletic group Turbellaria. So their life cycle is simple and aquatic, which includes mostly free living, although some lives in freshwater or moist terrestrial environments with more than 4,000 species. So their ventral epidermis is usually ciliated, meaning the underside of their body has tiny hair-like structures, which is the cilia, that aids in their movement or locomotion through various substrate. So they are predaceous, meaning they live by preying on other animals. They also possess rhabdites, which are the rod-shaped cells that they utilize for their defense. They also possess protrusible proboscis, which is a flexible tube-like structure that it can extend. They have frontal glands and many mucous glands that help in capturing their prey. They are mostly monoecious, meaning it typically has both male and female reproductive organs in the same individual. So their coloration is mostly in the shades of black, brown, and gray, but there are some of them that display brightly colored patterns. So some turbularians are capable of remarkable feats of regeneration, meaning they may regrow the entire body from a small fragment. So next it's the clade Neodermata, which is a group of parasitic flatworms that comprise the trematodes, monogeneans, and cestodes. So Neodermata came from Greek words neos, which means new, and dermis, which means skin. So organisms under this clade are characterized by a syncytial outer layer called the neodermis, which is a specialized structure for nutrient absorption. And moving on to the class Trematoda, are trematodes under the clade Neodermata. So trematodes are internal parasites of mollusks and many other groups including humans. But some can be external parasites or ectoparasites. They can also be endoparasites where they attach themselves to internal organs. Others are semi-external, attaching themselves to the lining of the mouth, to the gills, or to the cloaca, which is the end of the digestive tract. So they range in size from about 5 millimeters to several centimeters, not exceeding 100 millimeters in length at most. There are approximately 24,000 species that live as obligate parasites or endoparasites. So the trematodes are divided into two subclasses, namely the subclass Digenea, which is the larger subclass, comprising parasitic species of both mollusk and vertebrate hosts. So the digenetic trematodes are the only ones found in man. Second is the subclass Aspidogastrea or Aspidobothria, which is the smaller subclass, including trematodes of about 100 species living as obligate parasites of mollusks, but may also infect vertebrates such as turtles and fish. So trematodes are also regarded as flukes and are responsible for serious human diseases including schistosomiasis, which is a blood fluke that infects an estimated 200 million people in the tropics, leading to organ damage and chronic symptoms like fatigue. Moving on to the monogenetic flukes under the class Monogenea, which are smaller flatworms that are primarily ectoparasites, meaning they live on the outside of their host organisms, such as on the skin or gills of fish. So they typically parasitize fish and have relatively simple life cycles. These flukes are generally compact, rarely growing longer than 2 centimeters, so those that are larger are found in marine fish hosts. So unlike some endoparasitic flatworms, monogenetic flukes usually have only one host species throughout their life cycle. Although many of them have no oral suckers, that are found in endoparasitic flatworms. They have other elaborate attachment apparatus. For instance, some of them have prohoptor, which is a set of anterior structures used for attachment. Others have opisthoptor, or simply hoptor, which is a set of structures for attachment located posteriorly. So the class Monogenea is formerly under the class Trematoda, but is now a distinct class name. So monogeneans are classified based on their hopters, the Monopistocotylia, which has one major part to the hopter, and Poliopistocotylia, which has multiple parts to the hopter. Class Cestoda. Tapeworms, also known as cestodes, are internal parasites primarily infecting vertebrates. So their life cycle typically involves parasitizing a definitive host, often residing in the gut during adulthood, and infecting an intermediate host, such as muscle tissues during the juvenile phase. So there are key anatomical features of tapeworms. First is the scolex, which is the sucker-like structure found in the anterior end that helps the tapeworm to attach itself to the lining of the host's intestine. Next is the bothria, which are the sucking grooves or suction cups on the scolex. So this aids in the tapeworm's attachment to the host's intestinal lining by securing its position. Third is the strobila. So this refers to the body of the tapeworm, which is thin and elongated, resembling a tape, and consists of a chain of segments called proglottids. Lastly is the proglottids, which are the repeating brick-like units that make up the strobila. So each proglottid contains reproductive structures, both male and female, wherein as the tapeworm matures, new proglottids are continually formed at the neck region, and the older ones, which are fully developed and filled with eggs, are shed from the posterior end.
Distribution and diversity. Platyhelminthes are traditionally divided into 4 classes, which is Chorbellaria, Monogenea, Trematoda, and Cestoda. In general, free-living flatworms, the Chorbellarians, can occur whether there is moisture. They occur in both freshwater and saltwater, and occasionally in moist terrestrial habitats, especially in tropical and subtropical regions. Flatworms are cosmopolitan in distribution, but their occurrence is closely related to that of the intermediate host or host. So, they occur in both freshwater and saltwater. Then species diversity and abundance, which includes 13,000 species. Platyhelminthes are also known as flatworms. Platyhelminthes are accumulates, meaning without body cavity, and they include many free-living parasitic life forms. Body wall structure of platyhelminthes. Their body is dorsoventrally flattened without any segments and appear like a leaf. They are bilaterally symmetrical, which the opposite sides are similar. They do not possess body cavity between the gut and outer body wall. Only mouth is present. Their anus is absent. Means, kapag sila ay kumain dun sa bunganga, then kapag dudumi naman sila, paglalabasan ng dumi nila sa bunganga din, parang isusuka nila kasi wala silang anus. Tapos wala din silang respiratory at circulatory system. Let's proceed to the three body layers present in the body of flatworms. Number 1 is endoderm. The innermost embryonic layer, which gives rise to the inner lining of the gut, including digesting and circulatory organs. Then number 2 is endoderm. It is the outermost layer, meaning ito yung skin nila, that give rise to the skin, shell, and other protective coverings and many organs and nerves. Then the mesoderm, which is located between endoderm and ectoderm. It gives rise to the muscle, blood, and blood vessels, reproductive organs, organ of secretion, excretion, and muscular linings that surround many organs. So let's proceed to the sensory structure of platyhelminthes. They have head, brain, and sense organs, which is called cephalization. Ano nga ba yung cephalization na tinatawag nila? Ito yung concentration ng sense organ at nerve cells dun sa dulo ng kanilang katawan. Then, the sense organ called ganglia, which is the eye spots, dahil mukha siyang mata. Then, sensitive sila sa light changes. They are made up of simple nerve cells that respond to stimuli like light. Unlike sa ating mga humans, di ba yung eyes natin, ginagamit natin para makakita ng mga iba't ibang objects. Then, yung eye spot na yun, ginagamit nila para makadetect ng mga light or makasense ng light. Then, we have the sensory lobes. They are points on other sides of the head that look like ears called sensory lobes or auricles. They do not hear but can sense food. Then to the gastrovascular cavity, which is responsible for the digestion of food and transport of the nutrients throughout the body. Then the pharynx. A pharynx is a long tubular mouthpart that extends from the body. Pharynx also use as their mouth, which feed them. Then the nerve cords. To control sensory and behavioral physiology of flatworms.
Musculature of Platyhelminthes myocytes. Musculature cells composing the muscular of platyhelminthes. There are three main layers of muscles in their body. The first one is external circular muscle layer, and the second one is internal longitudinal muscular layer, and the third one is diagonal muscle layer. And we will discuss the first layer, the external circular muscular layer. The outermost layer of muscles, which consists of circulatory arranged muscle fibers that encircle the body of the flatworm. The second one is the internal longitudinal muscular layer. This layer is located beneath the external circular layer. It consists of longitudinally arranged muscles fibers that run parallel to the length of the flatworm's body. The last is the diagonal muscle layer. Some larger platyhelminthes possess a diagonal muscle layer between the external circular and internal longitudinal layers. These layers consist of fibers that are arranged diagonally. The musculature of platyhelminthes allow them to move and perform a various body movements. That exact arrange and structures of the musculature may vary among different species within the phylum. Ciliated epidermis sits on top of body walls of musculature. First one is this ocellus. This ocellus is an Eye spot found in a certain vertebrate is derived from the Latin word oculus, meaning eye, and it is used to refer a small light-sensitive structures in the insect and some other invertebrates. Parents. The parents of Platyhelminthes is a part of their digestive system. And the muscle of Platyhelminthes. The parietal muscle of Platyhelminthes are the muscles that are involved in the movement and construction of the pharynx. The pharynx is a part of the digestive system responsible for intake of foods. Platyhelminth intake of foods. The pharyngeal muscle in Platyhelminthes typically composed of muscle fiber that are vertically organized. And the next one is the parenchyma of Platyhelminthes. The parenchyma refers to the tissue that fills the interior of the body. It composed of cells and intercellular spaces. And it's also known as mesenchymal tissues. The next one is the intestine. The intestines in Platyhelminthes refers to the part of their digestive systems responsible for the absorption of nutrients from food. The intestines of Platyhelminthes plays a crucial role in breaking down food, particularly and extracting nutrients through the process of digestion and absorption. The next one is the cord. Nerve cord refer to the main component of the nervous system. The nerve cord is arranged in a ladder-like fashions. It's composed of nerve fibers and ganglia. A ganglia is a cluster of nerve cells. Longitudinal muscle of Platyhelminthes. This one of the layer of Platyhelminthes. Longitudinal muscles are a type of muscle tissue that runs parallel to the length of the body. These muscles are responsible for the elongation and construction of the body, allowing for movement and locomotion in flatworm. The cilia. Cilia of flatworms are known as having a cilia, which are small hair-like structure that extend from the surface of their cells. Cilia play important roles in the movements, feedings, and sensory function of Platyhelminthes. The next one is the parenchyma. The parenchymal muscles refer to a specific type of muscle tissue found within the parenchyma, which is the soft, spongy tissue that fills the interior of the body. These muscles are responsible for various movement and construction within the body of the flatworms. They are composed of muscle fiber that are interconnected and embedded within the extracellular matrix of the parenchyma. The next one is the columnar epithelium. Columnar epithelium refers to a type of tissue that lines the inner surface of the body cavity and the digestive tract. Pharyngeal cavity. The pharyngeal cavity refers to a specialized region within the digestive system that is responsible for intake and processing of food. Parenchyma cavity is located in the anterior region of the flatworm's body, near the mouth. It is a muscular chamber that serves as a passage for food and enter the digestive system. It also contains muscle that help in the movement and manipulation of food particles. Circular muscle. The circular muscles refer to the type of muscles tissues that run a circular patterns around the body. These muscles play a crucial role in the movement and locomotion of flatworms, as well as the other physiological processes. Circular muscles are located in the body wall of the flatworms beneath the outer epidermis. The epidermis refers to the outermost layer of their body. Epidermis plays a vital role in various functions, including protection, sensory, perception, and gas exchange. Gland cell. Gland cells are specialized cells that are responsible for the production and secretion of various substances. These substances can include enzymes, mucus, toxins, or other chemicals that serve different functions within the flatworm's body. The next is rhabdite cell. Rhabdite cells are specialized cells that are involved in the production and secretion of mucus. These cells are found in the epidermis, which is the outermost layer of the flatworm's body. Rhabdite. Rhabdite are rod-like structures and found in the cell of the epidermis or underlying lining parenchyma in a certain tubularians, including some Platyhelminthes. These are also present in the epidermis of Nemeritines. Rhabdites are discharged in mucus secretion and play a role in producing mucus. The next one is the dual gland adhesive or organ of Platyhelminthes. The dual gland adhesive organ refers to the special structure used in a certain flatworms for attach to surfaces. This organ consists of two types of glands, the adhesive glands and the releasing glands. The dual gland adhesive organ is primarily found in a certain free-living flatworm, such as planaria. Dual gland adhesive organ is typically located in the ventral side of the flatworm's body.
Feeding and digestion. Incomplete digestive tract has a mouth opening but lacks an anus. Most of the Platyhelminthes have a digestive system that begins at the mouth or pharynx and terminates at the gastrovascular cavity or intestine. Platyhelminthes have no anus and regurgitate undigested material through the mouth. Regurgitate, ito yung sinusuka or nilalabas din nila sa yung mga undigested material at nilalabas din nila sa mouth nila. Turbularians detect prey through chemoreception, meaning the ability to detect chemical signal in the water or surrounding, helping them to locate and capture food. Turbularians' pharynx functions as a ingestive organ. Pharynx means it's responsible for taking food. They might consume algae, dead organism, and some cases parasitic species within this phylum feed on blood. Food digestion is partially extracellular where pharyngeal glands secrete enzymes that help break down food into smaller units. In the digestive cavity, phagocytic cells engulf small units of food, and digestion is completed in intracellular vesicles. Within the digestive cavity of certain organisms, like some flatworms, specialized phagocytic cell engulfs small units of partially digested food. Once inside these cells, the process of digestion continues within intracellular vesicles. These vesicles contains enzymes and other substances that further break down the food particles, allowing the nutrient to be absorbed by the cells for the organism's nutrition and the energy.
Natural ecology and behavior. So, for the habitat selection of platyhelminthes, they live nearly everywhere, on land, in both fresh and marine waters, as well as inside other animals. They are most free-living species, and they are most marines, with small number of inhabiting freshwater and very few being terrestrial. So they are parasitic species that move between different habitats as they change life cycle stages and hosts. A few species of flatworm can be fatal to humans if not treated, but nearly all species can be treated with modern methods.
Here in this figure, we can see the characteristic habitats for free-living platyhelminthes. It is a diagrammatic scheme of the continental waters. Role in the ecosystem. Platyhelminthes or flatworms have an array of functional roles. They are closely associated symbionts of bacteria and other organisms. They are grazers on bacteria and primary producers, regulators of decomposition of plant material, predators, prey for other animals. They are free-living flatworms that are mostly predators and live in water or in shaded, humid terrestrial environments, such as leaf litter. They play a major role in the marine, terrestrial, and freshwater ecosystem. They also provide nutrient supply to the water system, as they contain a variety of nutrient sources. They also help the farmers by increasing the fertility of the soil, which overall increases the economical importance of the soil and earthworms. So next, ectosymbiosis and endosymbiosis. Ectosymbiotic is where an organism lives on another organism, while endosymbiotic is where organism lives inside another organism. So let's move on to the physiological constraints. They depend mainly on oxygen, content of water, and food availability. The factors that influence the presence and success of the turbularian fauna are temperature, salinity, and substrate type. So benthic turbularians are normally present in oxygenated areas of sand and mud sediments. Low oxygen levels are a clearly limiting factor for the distribution and the survival of the organisms. Temperature also mainly influences and has significant effect on development and reproduction of turbularians, as well as other general metabolic processes. A critical limiting factor for the distribution of flatworms is salinity tolerance, as some species are nearly exclusive to limnetic habitats, but they can also be found in brackish environments. Other ambient factors are light, because it have moderate influence in the different taxa. Trichlades are photonegative, but rhabdocoles are photopositive. In general, inhabitants of interstitial and benthic areas of lotic and lentic environments are photophobic, whereas species that inhabit vegetative meadows, shores, and littoral areas are in general positively phototactic. That response to light is an adaptation to the ecological niche.